In this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own custom sheet in Revit. So the standard sheet, full-size sheet for architectural drawings is 24 by 36. And that the reason that is the most popular is because whenever printed at 50% scale, it comes out to an 11 by 17, which most people with office settings can print in their office and then know that since it is half size, all of the drawings will be half scale. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to show you how to set up a 24 by 36 sheet, and then I want you to set up a 24 by 36 sheet of your own, as well as an 11 by 17 version that you can use and save. Now, this is something that typically most architectural firms will have their own template that they use over and over and over again. And the things that change are the project information or the project numbers, the sheet numbers, things like that. But the overall look across the board for a firm is typically a consistent look. And this simplifies things for you. So this is sort of a foundation that you are going to now create, and you can use it from here on out. You can obviously modify and change what those sheets look like, but if you would like to use this as the basis for the rest of your projects for the next 2 years, then that would be, I guess, kind of your own branding, so to speak. So, right now, you're probably in your Revit file, and mine is very plain because I'm not actually going through each of the steps with you on this. But the best thing to do, you can come down here and scroll down in the project browser and look under sheets, and there is usually one sheet given to you. It's a typical Autodesk template. Feel free to look at it and see all of the elements that are included within this. And you can start with this and edit, but I want to show you how to create your own so that you have an understanding of how it works in general. So if you wanted to add more or completely change it to fit the look that you want. There are also pre-built templates in Revit. If you wanted to load your own, you can always go in here and right click and select new sheet, and then you can go load and then scroll down to title blocks and click on that, and then you find the Autodesk templates. On mine, you're seeing some that I have actually already created myself that I keep as my my own personal ones that I use. So know that is an option as well, but I'd like for you to create your own that you can use over and over again. So I'm going to cancel out of this, and then I'm going to close this window. So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go up to File and then hover over New, and then scroll down here to where it says Title Block. Basically, you're creating a Revit family for a title block. So when you go to title block, then these open up and you have the standard sizes. So we're going to go with a D size sheet, which is 36 by 24, and we're going to open that. And now it is just a rectangle that is blank. Here up on the ribbon you have, it's just like when you were creating a light fixture or any furnishings, you can draw things on here and then save them and then import it into your project. So I'm going to start off with a line. I like to put a border on my sheets, and so that kind of, to me, encompasses everything and kind of keeps it all confined so I don't exceed the border. I'm going to use the rectangle here just to simplify things, and then I'm going to just offset by 1/2 inch. The reason why I'm choosing 1/2 inch is because that's the standard printer margin that most printers can print outside of, or cannot print outside of, excuse me. So I'm going to put 1/2 inch here, and actually I tried this earlier and it worked out better if I put -1/2 inch. Since I'm doing a rectangle, that then puts the lines inside. So I click at the top left corner and drag down and click at the bottom right corner, and now I have this line. The lines that I'm drawing right now are lines that will always be there and will act as kind of, I guess, accessory lines that are just part of the page always. The next thing I want to do, I prefer a sheet that has the information over here on the sidebar. You can also look at I recommend going and looking online at different architectural sheet layouts and sheet templates to see how other firms do theirs, but get an idea for what maybe attracts you about different layouts. So I prefer one that is over here on the right side of the page. It's just what I'm more used to. So I want this column here to be about 4 inches wide. So I'm going to just draw a line from top to bottom. And if I click the modify button and click on it, and I can see that it is actually 4.5 inches. So I'm going to change that so that it is 4 inches. And there I have a 4-inch space that is my margin that will act as my, I guess, boundary for my title block. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to include an area at the top, or you can include it anywhere you want, but I prefer mine to be at the top, an area for a logo or a name. Even if you're just putting Joe Smith Designs, you need to have a space on your sheet that allows for your identifying information as a designer. So if you have a personal logo, feel free to import it here, which you can do, but I'm just going to leave a blank square here and we're just going to call it good. So I'm going to make this a 4-inch by 4-inch square, and that right there at the top is going to be where I put my logo. You can make it much smaller if it's just putting your name and address or something like that. So that is up to your preference. And once again, I suggest that you go and explore other firms and see how they've done this. The next thing I'm going to include is identifying project information. So on every set of sheets, you'll find the name of the project, the address of the project, anything specifically identifying to that project. So I'm going to leave a gap here that is about, let's say 7 inches tall. This can be whatever size you want it to be. Some firms will make theirs actually more like 9 inches. So if that's what you want it to look like, then whatever proportion is fine with you. The next area I'm going to leave is actually for a seal, an architectural seal. So in an architectural firm, you may have multiple architects or registered interior designers. It depends on where you are and what state you're living in, but in the state of Texas, where we are, we have a Title Act, and so we do have registered interior designers and architects. The standard size, or I guess the minimum size for a seal, is 1.5 inches in diameter. So you need to make sure you leave a square or a space for that professional logo to be placed. Since this is a 4-inch wide space, I actually have enough room to put 2 architectural seals. If I was working in conjunction with another architect, then we could put our seals side by side, but I'm going to just leave a 1.5 or a 2-inch, a 2-inch tall area here. So I'm going to click and draw a line there. And so now I do have space to put 2 seals if I'd like, but there I have room to put a seal, and then I'll show you what to do with that space later. The next thing you need to provide, or make sure that you provide, is a sheet number area. A lot of times this is going to be a bold text so that it is easy to find and to locate, and it usually goes at the bottom corner of the page. So I'm going to make this 2 inches high, and that's where my sheet number is going to go. Now the next thing I also like to include is a little separation. You can separate it with a line, or you can just separate it by text, but something here, make sure you provide space to actually put the name of the sheet. So not only do you have the sheet number, but you have the name of the sheet. So is it your floor plan? Is it a furnished plan? Is it a wall section, etc.? So that's where you would put that. And then finally, you need to have an area that will allow for you to input notes. Occasionally you may have a revision that needs to be made, and so you can put a note about when that revision was made when you're putting this sheet out. Any general notes can sometimes be carried on into the side panel of your title sheet. So here I have set up kind of the general basis for my sheet. If I wanted to go in and make this a little bit more fancy, I could. Sometimes you can, hold on, I put the wrong button, but sometimes you can go, some people will put a rectangle here and maybe offset it by, let's see, -1/8 an inch, and then go in and just create these little borders here. So when you've created that, then you can delete the intermediate lines if you want, or keep them, but it keeps makes a little bit of a border, I guess, for the areas that you have taught or shown within your sheet. Just gives them each a little boundary. So adds a little padding if you want. That's a taste specific element, but feel free to do that if that's what you want to do. Now I'm going to show you what the difference here with the text objects. So go in here and you will click, you have the option of providing text, or you can do a label. So the difference here is, if there is something that I want written on every sheet all the time, maybe it's my name, then I'm going to choose text, and here I'm going to place that text wherever I want it, and then you can modify the size and the boldness and the formatting, all of that here on that. So anything I put here, I will just type Joe Smith Designs. Anything I place here in this text is going to show up on every single page. Maybe I want this to be bold, and then I will close. I have my text here ready to go. I can format it, resize it, move it around. So every single page is going to say Joe Smith Designs right there where I have it located. The other type of text you can add is a label. So a label is something that is actually annotated and changed with every single sheet. So if I click on label, I'm going to go right here, and I think I'm going to do my project information label. So I'm just going to click. Now you'll get an edit label window pop up, and you can scroll through and choose what parameter you want to be addressed with this thing. So I'm going to say project name, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to drag it over here. The next thing, you can add project address, you can add all these things if you want. I'm just going to do the project name for now. I'm going to click apply and then OK. And so now I have my project name. While I prefer mine to be facing or to run vertically like this, I can make it a larger text if I do that. And so I now have that ability to do that. So if I want, I can click modify, and you can edit the text. I'm trying to find the exact thing, but you can edit the size of the text as well and change that to be formatted how you want it to. So every instance in each of my projects, I'm going to be able to change the project name. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is, I'll just go ahead and put in a sheet number. So create, this will be another label. I'm going to click down here, and then I'm going to scroll down to sheet number. Then I'm going to drag it over there and click OK. And so now I have a sheet number here. And once again, you can format this. Here's your, alignment. I want it to be center aligned. So I have that done. Obviously this isn't perfect. I don't have it completely formatted how I want it, but I have the basics put in here. So I'm going to actually load this into the project and close. Since I have my floor plan open right now, I can do that. I'm going to click load into project and close, and yes, I want to save it. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to save it probably in my Revit folder. I'm just going to because I'm not actually using this one, I'm going to title it sample sheet. Save, and then I've now loaded it into my project. Now I'm going to go down here to sheets, and I'm going to right click and choose new sheet. Since I have loaded it already, it will show up in my available title blocks. Click OK, and here I have my sheet. So if I click on this sheet, I can look over here under the properties panel, and I can see the sheet name, the sheet number, all of these parameters that I am able to change. And those will all be updated with each one, with each object and with each page. So the next thing I also want to do is I want to make sure I rename this in my right bar. Maybe I want this to be A205. And we'll just say interior elevations. So that way I know very quickly what sheet I'm on and what I'm looking at. This will be helpful later whenever we start talking about view templates. So I have my sheet number, my sheet name done, and then I am able to see that. Well, maybe I'm looking at this and it's not exactly what I want it to look like. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to double click, and it opens the edit family box. So there I can go in and I can change things and edit how it's done. You can also edit your alignment over here as well. Edit type if you want to change the text font, the font, the text size, all of that. You can change all of that. So I'm going to click apply and just leave it there. Click apply and then load into project and close. Yes, I want to save it. Yes, I want to replace what's already in my project file, overwrite the existing version. So there we go. I have my sheet in there. One thing I want to mention here is that you can actually create standard properties. So if I'm selected one of my labels, I can click edit type, and then here you have, you see it says it's from system family label and it's tag 1. Well, I can duplicate this just like you can with any sort of furniture or material. I can duplicate this, and I may say this is project name. And so I want that to be a certain height. You could also rename it and say, I want this to be 1/2 inch block font. And maybe you want it, so you're going to say your text size is 1/2 of an inch. You want it to be bold. You may have some specific text that you want to use, Arial black possibly. And so I've now created a 1/2 inch block font. So I can select that, and so every time I want to go in and I want the project name or the sheet size, I may want it to be a 1/2 inch block. So I can, go to edit type, and I can click 1/2 inch block, click OK, and there my font has changed to match that. In order to add a view to your sheet, the next thing you're going to do is on the ribbon bar, you're going to click view, and then you'll go over here to sheet composition, and you'll add a view. When you click on that, you'll be given a window that asks you which view you want to add. I'm going to just add a floor plan view, so I'm going to say add sheet to view, and then you have this view that you can click within the floor plan. Now there are some things that you're going to want to edit and make sure you have set up correctly within your viewport. So I'm going to select my viewport and then come over here to the properties panel, and here you can see the detail number. Maybe you have multiple views on one sheet. You may want to call this view 1, view 2, view 3. That's just kind of how it is labeled down here in the title block for that one view. The next thing you can do is scroll through, and at the very top it says view scale. Maybe it's a large plan or a small plan and you want to change the scale that the drawing is in. There I changed it to 3/8 inch, which is a little bit big, but I could move it around on the page and it would work as well. So another thing that you're noticing is I have this little title bar. Depending on how you have your sheet set up, you can actually do a title bar for your drawings on your sheet template. If you want every title to every drawing to be in a certain line, then you can do that as your sheet template. But a lot of times you're going to move your floor plans or your drawings around. You're going to have multiple views and you'll need multiple labels. So you can use this included one, and you are able to change the parameters here of what it's showing, and it will automatically update and put the scale in. So you can hover over it where it highlights, and you can actually move it separately. If you hit escape and just select that, then you can move it separately. Maybe I want to move it up here, and then I've got this like really long line here that I need to shorten, and you can do that by zooming in. Can't get it to work. But you can shorten that. I think it actually worked. Sorry about that. So you can shorten that line by dragging it over onto your project in different ways. What I prefer to do actually is to create a label that is outside of this. And so the way I get rid of this line is I go up here to edit type, and I'll choose, it says show title. I'm going to click on it and click the drop down and select no. And that will get rid of that line, and I don't have to worry about it. So I can actually go to annotate and add text if I want to label that and put it how exactly I want it. But that is how you add a view to your sheet, and it is within scale. Just make sure that you mention or you put down on your sheet what scale you have that drawn in.